Two more stories I want you to tell in here because I feel they're so powerful and address root causes of problems as a lasting solution. One is the Harlem asthma story.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk about that?
Sure. Well, we wrote a very controversial chapter in Breakthrough is a criticism of the environmental justice movement, which has been focused on the effects of pollution and other environmental challenges on communities of color, on poor communities of color. And we make a couple of points. The first is that we point out that there are many factors that disadvantage poor communities of color. Of them, pollution is actually a relatively small one. Far bigger concerns for people in those communities are not very good jobs, low-paying jobs, low-skilled jobs, crime, family breakdown, a whole set of other things that the environmental justice movement sort of doesn't ever deal with because they're not defined as environmental problems. And as a point of contrast, we look at two groups in Harlem. One of them is an environmental justice group that's working on asthma, and the other is just a social services organization called the Harlem Children's Zone, which doesn't identify as an environmental group. And while the environmental group focuses on the asthma caused by diesel bus pollution, the Harlem Children's Zone has attacked all of the causes of childhood asthma, including the lack of health care for kids. Asthma is a highly treatable disease, and if kids get good health care, they can really deal with their asthma. But also inadequate housing, poor housing stock, mold and cockroaches, all those, and indoor smoking, all those things contribute to asthma. And so what impressed us about the Harlem Children's Zone was ironically that it was more ecological in its approach, more holistic in attacking the causes of the problem than the local environmental justice group, which had narrowly defined the problem around pollution.
And what I thought was really striking about that story, among other things, was that they spent $1,700 per child to fix all these root causes, and in turn reduced the childhood overnight hospitalizations to zero, which had cost $4,500 a night.
Right.
So it's such a great, cheaper solution.
It was a great solution, and it's now become a model not just for really, it's become a model for dealing with childhood asthma. And also, the other thing that we point out is that they don't just deal with childhood asthma. The Harlem Children's Zone works on, has job training centers, it has drug abuse treatment centers, it has, educational centers, really looking at how do you go and help people help themselves. And it's sort of a model for a new social contract, not just for how do you deal with sickness or other problems.